So in the series of learning programming in C, today I am going to talk about the execution process of a C program. In the previous video I have discussed structure of a C program, but now we will see the execution process of a C program. Like I have discussed what is the model of execution here: translation, linking and loading. So what is this model? What is translation? What is linking? What is loading? And when it comes, means what are the steps when translation is to be done, when linking and when loading, and when finally you will get output. That every step we are going to discuss with the help of this flow chart, right? Discuss the steps involved in the execution process of a C program. Very first, you write a C program, whether you will use any IDE or any text editor like Notepad. You write your C program, you save that program with extension .c. Like suppose program name is first, so we will save with first.c, and that is known as your source code or source program, right? Then the process comes. Now after this program, the concept of preprocessor comes. Now what does that mean? See, in program we have what? Hash, these type of lines. The lines which are started with hash, this is what? Preprocessor directives we call, right? And there is a program called preprocessor. See, these lines our compiler cannot understand. The lines which are started with hash, these lines are understood by a program named preprocessor. Now what does that mean? What preprocessor do? In these header files, what is there? This is standard input output, this is console input output, this is what? Macro definition. So here we have what? The declaration of, or you can say the meaning of those predefined functions. Suppose I am using the function printf, scanf. These are predefined functions, but compiler doesn't know what does that mean. Printf means what? Scanf means what? So compiler is going to search the meaning of these functions. Now the meaning or the declaration is where? In these header files, and the definition is where? In those C libraries, right? And these libraries are what? Part of C software, as we know that C is having many built-in functions, many predefined functions. So all these meaning of the, you can say, declaration of these functions are in these files. That is why we include these files in our program, so that our compiler can understand what the meaning of printf and scanf by looking at these files, right? The meaning is the meaning of those functions are in these files. Meaning means the declaration and the definitions, right? So what preprocessor do? Preprocessor will replace these files starting with hash, right, with the declaration of the functions this header file have, or this header file have, and this is what it will do. Macro, it will expand the macro as well as, right? Expand means what? Whenever in program I am using this max, it will replace that max variable with 100, right? And it will remove all these hash. Means you can say preprocessor replaces all the lines starting with hash with the declaration of the functions, that the functions that are included in these lines started with hash, and basically it's removed the hash. This symbol has been removed, and this is what you can say expanded source code. The expanded source code will be saved with extension .e file, or you can also say expanded source code or intermediate code. So that is why it is what? First.i. Now in our program is expanded, and there is no line which is started with hash, because this line has already been processed by preprocessor, right? Now compiler will compile the program, and what happens now? See, if there is any syntax error, yes, then you have to again edit your source code, right? Again same process would be done. If no syntax error is there, then first of all, which file would be generated? Assembly file having extension .asm, right? Compiler will generate assembly file. Then assembler, the role of assembler comes. Assembler will convert what? The code written in assembly language into object code, first.obj or first.o. Now object file has been created here, but this object file is not ready to execute. You cannot execute this object file. Still you have to do something, still compiler will do something, or not compiler, This is the process of compiler. Next comes the concept of linker. Now what linker will do? Linker will link this object file, or it will link all the object code into one file and link it with system libraries. System libraries means, in system libraries we have what? Definitions of those predefined functions. Now those definitions are not a part of our C program, that are part of C libraries, right? So now those parts, those definitions would be linked with our object code. Now your program is ready to execute after linking. So linker will do this thing. Linker will link your object code with all the system libraries. And second step, it will link, if multiple object codes are there, it will link all the object codes into one file, right? Now your executable file has been created, first.exe. Now what the task of loader comes. Now your file is ready to execute, but before executing, what where the programs or where the processes are being executed, means who is going to execute? CPU. But before execution, those files or any process or any program has to be loaded into main memory. Main memory means RAM, from secondary memory, from hard disk. Then only CPU can access that file from main memory and can execute. So now the concept of loader comes. Loader will load this exe file into main memory, RAM, and now execution will be done. If there is any runtime error, logical error, data error, here only we will give data when we will execute that file, right? If any error come, then again obviously you have to edit your source code, you have to do some corrections. If no error comes, no runtime error is there, then you will get your output. This is the process of executions. So how many files has been generated during this process? First is this .c file, then intermediate file. This assembly file, it's a part of compilation process. So after that we can directly say object file .obj or .o extension, then executable file with .exe extension. So I hope you got the concept of that translation. Say here it is translation till object file. That high level language code has been converted to object code, that is binary zeros and ones. This is zeros and ones. This is assembly language having some mnemonics value, some instructions in English language, right? Then linker, this is translation, this is linking, right? Link with system libraries. Then here at execution time the concept of loading comes. So that is why it is known as translation, linking and loading model, right? But generally in brief what we say, source code, that file would be compiled, converted into object code, then executable code. 3 steps are there. But if you go into deep, then first of all expanded source code, after that expanded source code, then ASM assembly language file, assembly file, then object file, and then executable file comes. See, compiler itself is having many phases, many steps. So that you will discuss in another subject like compiler design subject. It's not a part of C language. And from where the execution starts of a C program? From main function. Directly, first of all, control will go to main function, the first line within that main function, right? And only one main function can be there in a C program, right? So that's it for this video. And now I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.